Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for March 12th, 2024. Well, hey everyone, I want to say thank you to everyone for putting up with my crazy schedule lately. Hopefully, all of this turmoil in the family is over for a while. So fingers crossed and knocking on wood for that. It has been a challenging 30 days here for our family. And thank you for all your kindness and your support. I do truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at this market here this morning, and let's start off by taking a peek at what happened overnight. First off, Asian markets mostly lower last night. We had Australia down 1.32%, and Hong Kong was down 0.76%. India was lower, Shanghai was lower, while the Nikkei and South Korea were higher on the day. If we take a look at European markets this morning, European markets are green across the board, and I would say decidedly bullish. The DAX is up 335 points, or 1.50%. The FTSE is moving higher this morning by 0.45%, and the CAC is up 1.11% as they put tariffs, retaliatory tariffs, back on the U.S. If we take a look at U.S. futures here this morning, we've got the Dow futures nice and bullish here this morning, up 181. S&P 500 futures up 36.50, and NASDAQ futures up 152 points this morning. So keep an eye on those as we head into some pretty big economic numbers. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's take a look at what's going on other places in the market. If we take a look at oil, XLE, we've got it kind of flat here this morning. This has really bounced around quite a bit, and right now we've got oil futures this morning are looking a little bit higher by 65 cents at 66.90 a barrel. If we take a look at precious metals here this morning, well, we've got a little bit of mix going on here. We've got gold. GLD is just slightly lower. Right now, gold futures down a whopping 80 cents, and we've got silver futures higher by 28 cents at 33.43 an ounce. Copper been bouncing around here around this area of support, just can't seem to get any trend going just yet. But copper this morning up 1.54%. We've got platinum higher, and we've got palladium moving higher this morning as well, up $2.80 an ounce. Let's take a look at what we've got going here in our bonds. Our bonds this morning, well, a little tiny bit of a mix, but they're creeping up just ever so slightly. Right now, the 2-year bond is at, 3.94%. The 10-year is at 4.28%, and the 30 years coming in at 4.59%. And while that's happening, we've got the dollar trying to push just a little bit higher here this morning. Right now up 17 cents as it has really fallen out of bed here into this next level of price support in the chart. So keep an eye on that US dollar. Let's take a peek at what we've got going on here in our we already did the metals. Don't need to do that. I'm out of practice here, I guess, this morning. Let's take a look at cryptos. Bitcoin, a little bit lower here this morning. Now, interesting in the chart, it's trying to show that as holding in here, but right now Bitcoin is down $1,010 a coin. Ether this morning is down 63.25 a coin, 3.24% this morning. So pretty rough there, and we're mostly lower in those cryptos this morning. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts, see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these charts without a bias. I certainly understand how everyone is wanting to see some relief in this market. I would be included in that, seeing a little bit of upside relief. But so far, those bears just not willing to give it up here with all of that uncertainty that we're facing. So first off, let's take a look here at the diamonds. As you can see, we have fallen substantially here, fallen through this next level of price support in the chart that we had been looking at, and struggling here in the market to find anything to be very bullish about. If we continue that move to the downside, if those bears keep moving to the downside, you'll notice that we've got a fairly strong area of price support right there in the chart where we bounced off of yesterday, bounced back up, and that's where I would be watching for some of that support to come in to play. If we push on lower through there, well, I'm going to probably be right down in this area of the chart for that next area to test in the Dow. If we catch that little bullish move in the market, well, obviously it's pretty easy to see here. We're going to want to push up, see if we can break back through this resistance in the chart. If we can, we're going to break this really steep downtrend here, and then we might start moving up toward that area of resistance in the diamonds. Now, if we look at our moving averages here, well, we made that decision. We went right straight down through that 200-day moving average, and a bounce back up. Again, we're probably going to be watching that 200-day area here in the chart for that next area of resistance to see if we can reclaim that 200-day in the Dow. Unfortunately, we've got our shorter term moving averages. The 34 exponential is down through the 50-day. Not a good sign, particularly as we start rolling back up. That's going to add some additional resistance there in the chart. If we take a look at our SPY, moving lower here pretty sharply yesterday, coming into some new layers of price support. I'm just going to grab this line here, and I'm going to pull this down to where we found that support yesterday. And you'll want to keep in mind, as we move back up, we're going to be looking at some resistance right here in this area of the chart. So if those bears have anything to say here today, if they were to continue to push on lower, well, you can probably see it here in the chart. Someplace down in here would likely be that next area of price support. If those bulls, however, can get going, we can see this resistance right in here, maybe pushing up into here to see whether we can push back up through that little downtrend. And if we can get through here, then we'll start getting a little bit more relief, maybe up toward these areas of price resistance in the chart. Remember, if we take a look at our moving averages here, well below our 200-day moving average, any rally back up toward that 200-day moving average would be a nice relief in the chart. We're going to have to challenge that to see if we can break back through that to the upside, keeping in mind our short-term averages are down through that 50-day, and our 50-day is rolling over. If we take a look at our QQQ moved down awful sharply here as well through this next level of support in the chart, and I'll just pull this line down, and we came right down into this little area of price support. If the bears continue to push, then I'm going to say that next area is probably going to be somewhere down in here that we might catch a little bit of price support. And if the bulls have anything to say, well, you can see pushing up like we are this morning. Maybe we'll test this area of the chart, then see if we can push back up and maybe break through that big ugly black candle and start pushing through that downtrend up toward this next level of price resistance in the chart. Now looking here straight through those 200-day moving average, hard through those 200-day moving average. So as we move back up, that area up here that we were highlighting up toward that 200-day is what I'd be watching for that resistance to the upside. And once again, that 50-day moving average is coming down pretty hard. All of our short-term moving averages down through that 50-day, squeezing in on that 200-day. We could create quite a level of price resistance up there in the chart as we rally back. And our IWM also feeling quite a little bit of pressure here, breaking down below these support levels here in the chart, coming into this next level down in, let's go right across here, down in here, catching that area. And if those bears were continue to find inspiration here in the market, then I would suggest probably down as low as this area would be the area we'd be looking at. Any rally back up, we're going to be needing to deal with these price resistance areas in the chart, and of course that downtrend right here to see if we can push back through there. And remember, if we can get through that area up here, we're going to push back up here to this red line of resistance that I have, and that goes all the way back here to 2021 and 2022 area in the chart, a big area of price resistance there for us to deal with. So watch that closely. Our moving averages, we went straight through that 200-day and tagged the 500-day for an area of support. 500-day, typically as we see the 500-day, we usually get a little bit of relief to the upside. At least that's what I've seen historically, and we can start pushing back up. But watch that carefully here. Obviously, pretty rough here on IWM, and any rally back up, we're going to be looking at these resistance levels up here to see if we can push on through. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX, obviously pretty painful here, up around 27 handles, just short of 27 handles, pressing this resistance here in the chart. We tested it hard. Maybe now we can get a little bit of relief in that rally, but remember, we still have a lot of highs out here that we could test here in the chart, and we still have so much uncertainty for us to deal with. And of course, the data that we're going to get this morning is adding some additional insecurity in the market, so watch that carefully. We could push up here into the 35s. Been done before many times, and certainly a possibility as well. So with the volatility this high, continue to watch for those big whipsaws in the market, because we're just not getting that momentum to the upside for any upside direction. They just can't seem to sustain it for very long. So we're popping up here this morning. Watch carefully for the possibility of that whipsaw. Our T2122 here this morning, our T2122, we're down here in the bullish reversal zone. Here again, trying to get that little relief rally picking up. As I mentioned before, we can linger down here, and obviously that's kind of what we've been doing, is lingering down here on this uncertainty. If the bears have anything to say, just keep in mind we've still got room to move down. We could retest yesterday's low easily, so watch carefully for that possibility of that whipsaw here in the market. But if those bulls can find inspiration in some of this economic data, hey, we've got a big upside opportunity and maybe a relief rally, which we're a little bit overdue for here in the market. or T2108. T2108, obviously not in a good situation, down about 21% of the stocks holding above their 40-day moving average. We're getting down here toward a pretty good area of price support, but I want you to note we can go lower if those bears find any additional inspiration in economic data here today. Watch that carefully. We could sink further on the day and retest yesterday's lows and even break those in the market. If the bulls have anything to say, well, we certainly have plenty of upside opportunity. If that data supports those bulls, well, a nice push up here. We've got plenty of resistance levels to be watching in the chart as we begin to progress back up. Obviously, just being so oversold in the short term gives us the hope that that relief will occur, but let's watch some of these areas as we rally back. And T2107, there we go, I can type. T2107, obviously very bearish here. 28% of the stocks above their 200-day moving average, and as bad as that is, I want you to see that we can go lower. So if those bears find anything in the economic data to push us lower, watch carefully for that potential whipsaw this morning. If the bulls, however, come up with some good data, well, we certainly have plenty of room for us to move back up and relieve that pressure, maybe coming up into some of these areas of resistance in the chart up in here, and that would really help a lot in easing the pressure that we're seeing right now. Our T2101 in the market, well, unfortunately, let's change that. Let's say fortunately, as we sold off yesterday. As we sold off yesterday, we didn't get a big increase in breadth. So that breadth weakening here on that bearish side, we're probably in that oversold condition. What we need to see, however, with those bulls pushing back, we need to see those bulls adding in some of that breadth, pushing that bullish narrative a little bit better than they have here in the past. So watch that carefully. If there's any encouragement of a relief rally, I'm going to suggest it's this, that the bears really didn't have much breadth in that move yesterday, even though it was very painful. Let's take a look at some charts that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could, first let's take a look at that economic calendar. How about we do that? That economic calendar here this morning, this is what I've been talking about. We've got some worries here to be paying attention to. Clearly, we've got mortgage applications coming out here this morning. That's not the worrisome one. It's going to be the CPI number. CPI is expected to decline from a 0.5 to a 0.3 and year over year from 3.0 to 2.9. Ex-food and energy down 1/10 from a 0.4 to a 0.3, and year over year down 1/10. 0.33 to 0.32. So watch that carefully here. Anything I think is possible in here, watch those numbers carefully. It could inspire the market. It could be a little bit rough on the market if those happen to come in with a miss. Watch this carefully here as well. We've got a petroleum status number. Our oil has been pretty rough here lately, so keep an eye on that. We've got bond auctions here today and a treasury statement. And then remember, we're not out of the woods this week. We're going to jump right over here into Thursday with jobless claims and a PPI report. So keep that in mind. Let's take a look at a few of these stocks that are setting up for earnings today. Notable earnings, again, no blog here this morning. I will get back into doing that blog next week. If you take a look here, we've got ABM, ARCO, and IRBT that will be up this morning. And then this afternoon, Adobe, AEO, and let's look at a few of those here right now. First off, this morning, ABM We've got moving pretty sharply lower here this morning after earnings. Not a very happy one there. ARCO, no movement really there yet. Still expecting that report. And IRBT trying to move just slightly higher. This afternoon, that Adobe will be reporting. We've got AEO in here that will be reporting. CVGW will also be in there. CCI, PHR, S. We've got CXM and PATH. Those are the notables here for this afternoon, so keep an eye on those. Well, let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon. When it pops up, so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you can do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. And I believe I'll be back on task here finally after this crazy time in our lives, be answering those comments. So if you have any questions or anything that I can help you with, please feel free to leave that in the comments today. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up. Remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. Do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market. Clearly, the volatility is very high. Chances of whipsaws are very high. Big point moves are possible. So make sure you're planning your risk very, very carefully. Let's take a look at this lemonade. I am still watching this lemonade setting up in this pattern. Just hasn't been able to catch that bid yet here in the market. Is it possible that today, with a little bit of relief, that maybe lemonade could get going in here and push up? Watch that carefully, but pops through that alert. You know, I was keeping a pretty close eye here on Uber, popped through that alert, and boy, yesterday it got hammered back. So watch that carefully. If it can hold on to this trend, hold on to this little bit of support right in here, I still think there is that opportunity in here for BIIB to maybe push on higher. So watch that carefully if that push can move on up. And then, of course, Uber here pulling back. I was looking for that pop through that resistance there in the chart. Well, those bears got going here, pushing it back down through support. So no bueno there. If this can push back up and reclaim this area, there's still time that it could. Watch that carefully if we can get some bullishness going in the market. Obviously, it's been awfully rough in the tech sector, but one that's been holding up pretty well here is IBM. Still holding in here on this support. It's been quite volatile. Watch that carefully here. If we can get a little bit of bullishness going in the market, maybe we can kick off of this support area and push back up in the chart. How about we take a look at eBay? eBay, 2 really rough days after breaking out up here, whipsawing again in the market. If those bulls can hold on to this price support, this may have that opportunity to save itself here and push back higher with any kind of bullishness in the market. I'd be watching this area of price resistance, and I think what I'd really want to see for any kind of a buy signal is a pushback up through there, prove you can hold, and then follow this trend to the upside and be looking for that next opportunity there in eBay. Clearly, it is tough in the tech sector to find much of anything, but when we take a look at some of the things in like the miners, take a look at like GDX still holding in there pretty nicely. Be watching for that opportunity here. If the dollar continues to fall, gold and silver have pretty good opportunities in here, so keep an eye on that for that potential. You've got GDXJ also on those junior miners looking pretty darn good, trying to push back up through this resistance here in the chart. I'd keep an eye on any of those miners here in the market for some upside opportunity. Let's take a look at some other places here. Defensive sector or old boring dividend paying stocks been holding up pretty well, although a lot of them got drawn into the selling yesterday. Holding up pretty well. AT&T, something to pay attention to here. It is possible this could fall off a cliff with a little bit of bullishness in the market. We might see some easing on these, but watch them carefully. They're still holding in there, and I got to tell you, I couldn't be happier with me holding AT&T from way back over here. Just an incredible profit in that trade, looking pretty good overall. Take a look at some of those things like, well, Verizon in that same area. Hard pullback the last couple of days, but if it can hold on to that trend, maybe something in there in that area of the market. Take a look at stocks like KHC that's holding up here. Rough couple of days there, but once again pulling back to some support. We might see those starting to perk back up. So look at some of those in the market. Mondelez had quite a run to the upside. Now resting in here, still a bullish pattern. Again, old boring stocks seem to be doing pretty good here at the moment. I'd keep a pretty close eye on those. Gotta say, this silver chart looking interesting here with this little higher low, pushing some resistance in the chart. Worth keeping an eye on silver. You might look at PSLV as an opportunity there, holding that higher low in silver. Watch that closely. And GLD, that higher low in here, back up here testing some resistance in the chart. If that dollar continues to fall, watch carefully for that opportunity that might push out there. Remember, gold may reach up toward that 3,000 area in the market fairly easily. We're not that far away to see 3,000 in gold if we continue to see that dollar weakening. So watch that carefully. So with that, everyone, there's a few stocks for you to pay attention to. Thank you so much for being with me this morning. I appreciate that as well. Thanks for putting up with me and this erratic schedule that I have had. Hopefully things will start to smooth out here in our lives and get back to normal, if there is such a thing. So with that, everyone, wish you all a fantastic day. Be careful, be safe. Watch for that volatility, and I'll see you right back here bright and early tomorrow morning, Thursday morning. And if you have not checked out Right Way Options, you might want to check that out. We still have that $7 trial special going on, and I'd love to have you over there. And RWO members, we'll see you there soon. Take care, everyone. Have an awesome day.